This is really for all of us, and statistics are showing that people are more stressed than ever before. They feel more alone than ever before. They feel more isolated. They feel, depression. This is no longer kind of like this nice luxury for those that are in a challenging position. This is a discussion of survival of our society.
Hey everybody, today we have Clay Olson with us. He's the CEO of Impact Suite, and that's our official mental health partner for the NFT Yearbook. So Clay, tell us a little bit about what Impact Suite does.
Well, Impact Suite provides a suite of digital resources for mental health. So everything from crisis support to on-demand self-care and prevention tools to teletherapy and specialized lifestyle coaching. So we just want to be kind of a comprehensive mental health partner for anybody on the journey of wanting to improve their mental health. And that's not just for the mentally ill, that's for all of us, because we all can improve in those areas.
That's so true. It's actually a question that I got ever since I've announced that we will be offering your services free to anybody that owns an NFT Yearbook NFT. It's like, oh yeah, but we're not crazy. Why would we need mental health care? And that's actually such a silly point of view, because the reality is that we all need help with mental health. It's just, what do you say to that?
Well, I think that we need to, first of all, more and more people are recognizing the importance of addressing their mental health, either on a preventative level or on a reaction to some challenges they're facing. It's becoming less stigmatized to have the discussion of mental health. It's becoming less stigmatized to see a therapist. Whereas before, it was like, that guy's crazy. And now it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, we all should. And I don't know anybody, I've yet to come across somebody that within the journey of life, that they don't enter into a season in which they could use some help. And so this is really for all of us. And statistics are showing that people are more stressed than ever before. They feel more alone than ever before. They feel more isolated. They feel, depression, antidepressants, and anxiety are higher than we've seen in perhaps any other time on record. So this is no longer kind of like this nice luxury for those that are in a challenging position. This is a discussion of survival of our society. We are experiencing an epidemic. The COVID virus has swept the earth, did us no favors. It made us more isolated, more alone, and increased stresses, and had an impact on economies and other things that have not helped us. 94% of individuals indicate their mental health is worse today than prior to the pandemic. And so, yeah, this is something that we all need to be looking at and reshaping the way that we even talk about the topic. We think of mental health often for the mentally ill, for those that are experiencing crippling levels of depression. And a lot of us don't really resonate or think of ourselves as dealing. Yeah, like we don't consider ourselves, oh, I'm not that bad. But we need to think of ourselves more of like, if I asked you, do you consider yourself an athlete? Let me ask you that question. Do you consider yourself an athlete?
By a long shot, no, I'm not an athlete.
Okay, so why not? Why are you not an athlete? What would be the characteristics of an athlete?
Well, I would think that an athlete is somebody that competes professionally in some sport or something, which, I don't. Yet, I still like walking, I still like hiking, I still like riding the bicycle occasionally and going to the gym. So, I guess.
Well, let me propose, let's look at an athlete as someone who works to develop the knowledge and skills and mindset needed to participate in a sport or a physical activity. Becoming an athlete often requires instruction or coaching, consistent practice, and relationship with others as teammates, competitors, and just a general community. If that's our definition of an athlete, then we're no longer just looking at professional athletes. We're looking at, well, okay, so what about my child who's in swimming lessons that's learning to develop the skills and the mindset to to participate or compete in a sport or physical activity, and they're receiving coaching and they're part of a community. What about the gentleman that's running in his 70, he's 70 years old and he's running a 5K? He's working to develop the skills necessary to participate in that activity. If we reshape kind of our thought, like, okay, athlete is an individual, and then if we take that and say, well, okay, what is a mental health athlete? A mental health athlete is, perhaps somebody that, if we take the kind of similar definition, is someone who works to develop the knowledge, skills, and mindset needed to thrive in life. And to become a mental health athlete often requires instruction, guidance, coaching, consistent practice, and relationship with others, companions, friends, community, and allies. So if we consider ourselves or think of ourselves as we're all mental health athletes, as I think of it, is like someone who proactively is working on their mental health. And a lot of us just don't do that. We don't proactively, look to improve areas of our life in which we know have a considerable impact on our well-being. Things like nutrition, exercise, mindfulness, past, relationships, past trauma, meaning, and purpose. If we work proactively in these areas that the literature has identified as being key factors in our well-being and our mental health, we are then mental health athletes. And if we think of ourselves as that way, then we're not just talking about the mentally ill. The gym isn't just for the athletically elite. It's for all of us, right? We can all work together to improve in those areas.
That is so true. I mean, thinking about it that way, it puts a completely different spin on it. I mean, I'm just thinking, we work with a lot of startups and through our Innovate series and innovation. And, every startup looks towards mentors to help them, because you're not expected to understand every single thing in business. You need mentors to help you out. When we look at going to the gym, I mean, I would normally ask somebody around there, a coach, or use one of these coaching programs just to kind of help me and point me in the right direction on what to do it, to be effective in my training. So I guess it's very much the same thing. Mental health isn't necessarily you've got something wrong with you. It's like you are trying to make yourself better. And in anything that you're trying to make yourself better, it's better to look towards the experts to help you out and point you in the right direction. Why do you want to learn the lessons on your own, or fail on your own? That just
Right.
doesn't make sense.
And whether they're an expert or whether they're just a supporting ally in your journey, that companionship can be very valuable in our journey. And I think that if we think of ourselves as mental health athletes, in the way that I defined an athlete and a mental health athlete, then we're never done with that journey. That's not something that we have to only pay attention to if we are, suffering. But it's something that we're paying attention to at all times of our life, that we're working to stay mentally strong. And today, more than ever, we need to be focusing on these areas. Because if I could get up on the mountaintop and scream from the mountaintop and try to help people reshape the way that they think and talk about mental health, it would be primarily the fact that the dominant narrative around mental health has been that once you're diagnosed with depression, that is a lifelong sentence, that the best you can do is manage and cope with that. And for many people, that is just too much, and they end up, exiting this life early because they're just like, I can't do that, I can't handle that, and it's so sad. And they get told this idea that their depression is a result of a chemical imbalance in their brain, primarily a serotonin, a lack of serotonin, and that is the result of it. But that has been proven false in recent studies, and just recently, actually, just last month, an enormous bombshell study was released by a series of researchers out of the UK, where they, all over Europe actually, and where they analyzed all of the data suggesting chemical imbalance being the result, or being the cause of depression. And their result was conclusive. And they said there is no compelling evidence. In fact, the lead researcher, I have a quote here. She said, I think we can safely say that after a vast amount of research conducted over several decades, there is no convincing evidence that depression is caused by serotonin abnormalities, particularly by lower levels of reduced activity in serotonin. So this idea that this is a life sentence and that you're stuck with this and you just lost the genetic lottery and that this is a bum deal that you have to deal with, that is false. And if we can kind of convince people there is hope, there is hope. In fact, there's so many studies about our current lifestyle conditions that have more to do with our epidemic of depression being due to our lifestyle conditions and our lifestyle choices collectively as a whole, rather than some chemical imbalance. In fact, one researcher from the University of Kansas said, this is Dr. Stephen Alardi, he said that we were never designed for the sedentary, indoor, sleep-deprived, fast food-laden, screen-addicted, frenetic pace of modern life. And it's like, oh yeah, these conditions that we are kind of put ourselves in are causing these challenges that we're facing. And as we address them, the reason this is good news is that as we have way more control over our mental health than we think we do. It's not something that's predetermined. It's something that as we make iterative small adjustments, the research shows that it's not just like slight improvements, like brick by brick kind of improvements. Over time, as we compound improvements in these lifestyle categories, we see catalytic hockey stick improvements in well-being. And that is so hopeful and exciting. So any listener right now that's thinking there's no hope, I'm destined for a life of just medication and coping and managing, there is hope. And that's a message that we want to convey.
Oh, that's amazing. And it makes so much sense because we all know that when you're feeling good, it's just so much easier to feel better. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you wake up in the morning and your crypto portfolio is up 10%, then nothing can get you down for the day. Then everything is just better. It's the same thing. So
yes,
amen. I guess it makes sense that mental health is we can actually control it, and we can actually have an influence on our own mental health and make it better. I love what you're saying there.
And when we understand what's really causing depression and anxiety, we can get to the real solutions. We can really uncover. People think that their depression is an abnormality or kind of a genetic mistake inside of them. But we'd say that these are not your depression. Your depression actually makes sense. Your depression and anxiety are not malfunctions. They're signals to you to kind of assess what's maybe the result of it, going upstream. One woman, Laura Delano, who suffered from depression and was suicidal at many times of her life, was diagnosed at 13 years old. Later on, in an interview where she was kind of reflecting on her experience and talking to her 13-year-old self, she said, if I could talk to my 13-year-old self, I'd say, your urge to die is really an urge to live in just a completely different way than you currently know. And as she made adjustments in her life, she ended up thriving and is currently thriving in life. But she was so hopeless in the early days of her diagnosis, and it followed her for over 2 decades. I'm as you can see, I'm passionate about helping people, have a paradigm shift in the way that they think about mental health, because I think that that's crippling us as a society to really make massive improvements collectively as a whole.
Wow. Yeah, that is amazing. It's like a whole new point of view. I'll be honest with you, I'm even a little bit surprised because, I've also always just kind of thought, mental health, yeah, really. But the way that you put it, it actually makes a lot of sense. And I can see how small little improvements can make your life better. And I'm thinking about how my kids think about life, and I'm thinking about everything all of a sudden. But anyway, let's flip it around a little bit. You guys have gone into the crypto and the NFT space. Firstly, Impact Suite has been doing this for large employers and for large companies for their employees for a while. How long have you guys been doing this with your apps?
Well, so we started actually direct to consumer, and we've been around for over 5 years. We've been operating, helping hundreds of thousands of people in over 150 countries around the world. But we a couple of years ago we started providing bundling some services, including some human services to large employers and even small employers to provide some support to them and help them have that paradigm shift and work on themselves. So we've been doing this for a while, and we've recently, entered into providing these services to the NFT space and crypto space, and it's been a lot of fun to work with these individuals.
I can imagine. What made you move over into the NFT space? What was your driving force?
Well, so I've been involved on a personal level with owning cryptocurrency for some time, many years now, and I've gone through the ups and downs I've ridden the waves and so I've been always fascinated with the space, and I'm bought into the philosophy and the vision and the mission that this new technology represents, both in the currency space, but also in the digital, contracting and the NFT space. Now, but I'll be honest, it wasn't something that we kind of like said like let's go pursue this. It was a organization. It was an NFT project called Crypto Moris that actually reached out to us and said, "Hey, we have an idea that we'd like to talk to you about, and it's a little unconventional, but we'd like to offer your services, full services with full teletherapy access for anybody that owns one of our NFTs." And we're like, "Okay, that's a little different than that's a little different than what we've done before. You're not a company. This is a little different." And they're like, "I think that we could really, tip the mental health, providing space on its head, and we could really kind of reinvent that a little bit." And we thought, "Hey, your vision is really compelling." So we started working with them on that. And since then, we launched with their community. I've had really an incredible experience with them. We were launching with, almost 10 other NFT projects now. We've launched a few others and are about to launch many more here. And it's been like just an incredible experience to work with these NFT projects and provide the really kind of radical idea is that not only can you purchase an NFT and something that has value that you're interested in, you want to be a part of this community and you want to have these digital assets, but then you can also gain access to services that are somewhat challenging to afford, challenging to get access to and find those providers, and so kind of lowering the barrier of entry to these mental health services that are so needed today more than ever before, for something that you are already engaged in. So it's not an extra fee for these individuals. It's not something that they have uh, to to go out and find. This is like handed to them just for participating in an environment that they are already committed to. It's just a really innovative approach to the mental health, and we're excited for that partnership and the continued partnerships that we're gaining with many others, including NFT Yearbook, and we're excited to be a part of the space.
Yeah, I mean, from our side as the NFT yearbook, I think in the NFT space, we all, I mean, the whole NFT space is about community. It's about building community and looking after your community and supporting your community. And I think this is an absolute no-brainer. That's why when we met you guys at NFT.NYC, when we met Mark, we were like, this is a no-brainer. This makes sense because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, I mean, from our point of view, our community is the most important. We want to support them where we can, but we also know that our community is involved in a space that is currently, I think, very stressful. Between
Hmm.
all the big failures in the crypto space and the crypto winter, I sometimes feel like our space, the NFT space and the crypto space, is a little bit more challenging than a lot of other spaces out there, even because things change so quickly. And I mean, we've all been there. I mentioned earlier, if you wake up and your crypto portfolio is up or your NFT has suddenly gone up in value, you feel good. But the opposite is also true. When you wake up in the morning and you check your wallet and suddenly you're worth 10% less, or your NFT is floor has dropped, you know, it hurts. And sometimes what
It
you really
hurts.
need sometimes what you really need is just to have something to help you get that clarity. And I think when we were discussing it last time, you mentioned that a simple little meditation or a simple little just getting things into perspective again, just going, okay, well, look, I know it's down a little bit, and subconsciously in a lower deep level it hurts, but it's not going to stay there. Just work through it.
Yeah. I mean, you're right in that the crypto space right now. Well, it has been since its origin. Like it's very volatile, and it kind of goes ups and down. And we hope that it'll get to a place in which there's some stability. But it's still early, right? And I think all of us involved in this space, we believe in the future of this, and we're willing to kind of ride these waves in these early in this early time. That being said, if we put our value into whether this is up or down, we're emotionally going through a roller coaster. You know, it's never fun to be down in any investment, right? But and I think that like that's also something to remember is that like um, when we feel stress, when we feel anxious, when we feel depression, those aren't things like oftentimes we just want to like shut those down, like make those go away immediately. Those things they we don't allow them to just exist and be present, because as we look at the challenges, like life is stressful. Life is there's going to be times in which you're not on top of the moon, and there's going to be times where you're down. And rather than looking at those as something that needs to go away immediately, like I mentioned earlier, they often signals to other things, like pain. Pain teaches us, right? If I have my hand on the stove, it's not. It's something that's teaching me about that, and I can avoid that in the future by knowing kind of what causes that pain and what's the origin of it. And pain is a good thing. If we had no pain, people that actually experience that phenomenon where they don't feel pain, they are. That's more of a curse than it is a blessing.
Yeah.
And so we need to look at these emotional challenges and these emotional pains similar to the physical pains, and say like, what are these causes, and how can I remedy them? How can I attend to these injuries or pains that I'm feeling appropriately? And so coming back to the crypto space and the ups and downs and whatnot, it's one thing to recognize that there is a part of that. It's part of life, and we don't have to run from emotional pain, but rather sit with it and understand it, and then make adjustments accordingly. But also recognizing that it's really important to be kind of taking a self inventory on how I'm taking care of myself. So we often talk about eat, breathe, and move and sleep. So when somebody says, I'm not feeling like today, I'm not doing well, a lot of our clinicians will go back to eat, breathe, move, sleep. They'll say, okay, what have you been eating lately? And has it been a lot of processed foods? Has it been a lot of sugar? A lot of things that, like, in the literature has kind of been proven to increase your vulnerability to depression or anxiety? Or have you been eating healthy? Have you been breathing? And that can mean meditation. That can mean detaching a little bit. Sometimes we're so immersed in the news and in social media and in work and in life that we don't detach and kind of breathe and kind of connect. And that can be a spiritual thing. That can be a meditation thing. That can take a lot of different shapes and forms. It can be a walk up in the mountains, or up a country road, or whatever it needs to be. But getting that time to yourself that is not bombarded with things to do and things to be concerned about. And then we talk about move. Are we moving? Are we getting our heart rate up? And that can take the shape of full blown exercise, or it can just mean move. Sometimes we just sit at a computer all day long, and then we wonder why we don't feel very good. And so we got to be moving and getting access to the sun, which has been proven to increase your mood. And then, of course, sleep is such a pivotal and concrete thing. A recent study from Harvard last year just came out, that indicated that individuals that went to bed 1 hour earlier and subsequently woke up 1 hour earlier didn't even prescribe what to do with that additional hour in the morning. Just said the fact that they went to bed 1 hour earlier and got up 1 hour earlier, it lowered their risk for depression by 21%. Um, because of that detached time where sleep is so critical to our overall well-being. And so if we take an inventory and we're not feeling good and we're like, oh, I didn't eat very well, I haven't detached. I've been go, go, go. I haven't done any sort of physical activity as of late, and I am not sleeping well. In fact, I'm not getting enough sleep, and I'm waking up a lot in the morning. It's no wonder then that we're not feeling well. And if we can kind of take inventory of those four, at least those four, there are others we could look at, but at least those four things: eat, breathe, move, sleep, we're going to be way better off. We don't think of those things often as impacting our mental health. We think of them as impacting our physical health. But those two things, our mental and physical health, we think of them as two separate things, but they are actually connected at the hip and they move together. So as we impact one, we're impacting the other.
Wow, that is it's actually amazing. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm like, okay, well, that explains why if I eat a chocolate in the early morning, in the late afternoon, by lunchtime, I start feeling like I want to go to sleep. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
so just a quick one. Your set of apps. I mean, is that what does it do specifically? How does it help? Do you track stuff like eat, sleep, and
Oh yeah. So as individuals come in, they're able to select an app that best suits them. So we have a number of different apps. We have an app called Lift for depression and anxiety, an app called Turn for substance abuse and chemical dependency. We have an app called Fortify for sexual compulsivity. We have an app called Climb for general personal growth and wellness. So literally, there's something for everybody. Because if you don't relate to any of the first three, that Climb is something that resonates with anybody that's on a journey to improve themselves on any level, to any degree. So it's not coming from a deficit perspective, but rather a leveling up perspective. So
proactive?
as they select one, yeah, proactive. So as you select one of the apps, you'll immediately take an inventory, an assessment that will help you identify vulnerabilities and strengths in key lifestyle categories that literature has identified as pivotal. And as you identify those risk factors, you'll say, "Oh, I'm not doing as well in these 5 areas or 6 areas." And so then we then recommend a journey. We call them journeys. A journey specific to some of these areas that, based on some input you've given us, we recommend a journey. Now, you don't have to take the journey we recommend. You can go on your own path, but we then provide journeys for each of those areas that you can then say, okay, I'm going to work on my sleep. I'm going to work on my past trauma. I'm going to work on my relationships. I'm going to work on my meaning and purpose. And we have a journey that walks you through with challenges and education and information. So our apps kind of center around three core areas: learn, connect, and track. So the learn section is what I've been describing as you are on a journey of improvement. The connect is that we have a number of ways to connect with others, which we know that the literature is so pivotal. I think Johan Hari of the UK said that the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. And so connection is so critical in our capacity to be well. And so we provide a number of ways to do that. Everything from a community where individuals are engaging and connecting and sharing ideas, so peer support. We have lifestyle coaches, specialists like sleep specialists and exercise specialists and financial specialists, where you can kind of engage with them and message with them and get support and work on improving these areas of your life. We have therapists, so licensed professional counselors that are there to support you in your journey if it requires professional intervention. And not everybody will need professional intervention, but those that do, we have that kind of tiered experience for them as well. And then, of course, we have track. And tracking is, we have a daily tracker where they can kind of start to take inventory of how their day went and what led to what and what emotions were driving things. And then over time, that aggregates in the results where they can start to see patterns and trajectory of improvement. So they can start to say, oh, when I'm traveling, on the weekends, and I haven't been eating well, I am more susceptible. And so they can start to work on improving those areas as we track that over time. And we do the same thing with tracking some of the overall well-being categories. So we have a lot of data that we just feed right back to you so you can understand your journey. We have a lot of community and support and people that you can engage with. And then we have, of course, a lot of education and learning. And that triage support has been proven to be incredibly effective as people work to improve these areas.
That's interesting. So, just another totally random question. I mean, obviously, in order to improve yourself, you need to want to improve yourself. Isn't that one of the biggest
Yeah.
obstacles that people have? I guess it's not really to want to improve yourself. I guess it's more a case of believing that you can improve yourself or that you have what it takes to improve yourself. Because I think oftentimes people are just too scared to start something like this for fear of failure.
Right. And that is true. In fact, one of the questions we ask when the people come in is like, what is your readiness for change? Because some people are like, I am ready. I will do what it takes. Let's go on this journey. Other people are like, yeah, I'll do some stuff, but I don't really want to dig too deep, and I don't really want to do this. I'm not very motivated, but yeah, I'll check it out. Well, who do you think is going to see more results, right? So there is a readiness for change, no question. But the good news is that we provide kind of an environment and an ecosystem to which you can engage to whatever level. It's not an all or nothing. It's not a you have to conquer Mount Everest to in order for this to work, or nothing. Like if you're only ready to engage to on the community level and nothing else, or you just want to track some stuff and find some information out, or you just want to do a journey, you don't care about any of that, there's a way to engage and get some support at the level at which you are ready. We do encourage throughout the process to get you more ready for more change, because we see that's where the magic happens. But we often encourage people, don't try to climb Mount Everest from the get-go. Focus on small iterative goals that you can kind of like low-hanging fruit adjustments that you can start to see the power of the way that influences your overall well-being. And once you can catch the vision of it, once you can kind of see just a little improvement, that it's so exhilarating to see how people catch the vision and then just go off with it. We see that people that even make even 10% improvements to their overall lifestyle categories are seeing 33% improvements in their overall well-being. So it's catalytic. It's not equal. It's not a 10% improvement in your lifestyle categories equals 10% improvement in your well-being. It compounds for you. And so so we encourage people to just go and be a part of it and just start the process. And for many people, they'll see that. And if you're not ready now, when you are, we're here for you.
Wow. Yeah, and I guess tracking, plays a very big role, which is great that you have the tracking involved in there, because something I've learned about us humans is that we've got a very, very short memory. We do something that
Yeah,
works, and we suddenly feel better, and then we're like, oh, wow, I feel a lot better, so I'm going to start eating worse, and I'm going to start reverting back to the old style, and then we don't understand why we start feeling worse again, I guess.
exactly.
Anyway,
Exactly.
well, Clay, thank you very much. We are very happy to be partnered with you guys and to be able to offer some of these services to anybody that holds an NFT Yearbook NFT. And I think, just we need to start getting this message out there more and more. So we'll be setting up some more calls with you guys, with you or people from your team, to maybe dig into some of the specific issues that can help people in the NFT space and in the crypto space more. Yeah, thank you very much, man.
Thank you for having me. And we're excited too, and looking forward to helping you in any way we can.